Most of the money in the world was never printed by any government. A banker created it out of nothing, just by writing down a number. And the trick behind it is almost 400 years old. Look at the number in your bank account tonight. Most of that money was never printed, never stamped, never touched by any government press. It was created out of nothing by someone simply writing a number. The paper notes in your wallet and the coins in your pocket are only a thin slice of all the money that exists. The rest is a promise, a figure written down, passed from hand to hand, trusted but never held. To understand where that promise came from, we have to travel back nearly 400 years to a narrow street in London filled with fire, hammers, and floating gold dust. Step inside a goldsmith's workshop. Here a man melts down precious metal, shapes it, weighs it, and stores it for wealthy customers. The fire never goes cold. This ordinary trade is about to change the world. In one corner sits a heavy iron strongbox, its lock thick as a fist. Inside lies other people's gold, left for safekeeping. The goldsmith guards it, and in return, he hands each owner a written receipt. So here is the puzzle. How does a man with a hammer, a fire, and a locked box end up inventing the machinery of modern banking, the system the whole world now runs on? Stay with this story, and by the end, you will look at your own bank balance differently. You will see that the figure on your screen is not stored cash at all. It is a promise someone made to you. And you will understand, at last, why one frightened crowd at a bank store can bring the whole thing crashing down. Why a bank run is one of the most terrifying things in money. Picture London in the 1630s. The city is loud, crowded, and rich a port, swollen with traders, ships, and the clink of metal. Wealth here is not a number on a screen. It is gold and silver you can hold in your hand, and that gold carried a constant worry. Every coin and bar of bullion had to live somewhere under a floorboard, inside a chest, behind a locked door. Thieves knew it. A house fire could swallow it. One bad night could erase a lifetime of work. Enter the goldsmiths. These were craftsmen who shaped precious metal for a living, and to protect their own stock, they already owned something most people did not: heavy iron-bound vaults, built to keep gold safe from anyone who came for it. So the goldsmiths made an offer. For a small fee, they would guard your gold alongside their own. Slowly, they stopped being only craftsmen. They became keepers of other people's wealth, changers of coin, handlers of payments. The arrangement was simple and entirely physical. You carried your gold in. They weighed it, locked it away, and handed you a piece of paper, a receipt that named exactly how much was yours, sitting safe in their vault. That paper was a claim. It was not money itself. It was a promise that a specific pile of gold existed somewhere with your name on it, and that you could come back and take it whenever you wished. Now, London did not dream up this idea from nothing. In Amsterdam and in the wealthy cities of Italy before it, merchants had already played with storing money and passing paper claims between one another. So, London did not invent the idea of storing wealth for others. But the city was about to take that quiet, ordinary habit and transform it into something no one had quite seen before. The year is 1640. For generations, merchants believed the safest place in England for their gold was the Royal Mint, locked deep inside the Tower of London, and then, without warning, the king reached in and took it. Charles I was running out of money for his quarrels and his wars, so he ordered the bullion that London's merchants had stored at the Tower seized for the crown. The wealth was no longer theirs. Think of what this meant. Men who had trusted the crown with everything they owned learned, in a single morning, that the king himself could simply take it. The strongest vault in the kingdom had become the most dangerous box of all. The seizure shattered something far more valuable than the gold itself. It broke confidence in royal safekeeping. If the mint could not be trusted, where on earth was a merchant supposed to put his fortune? So the frightened owners did the only thing left to them. They carried their gold to the private goldsmiths' craftsmen, who answered to no king, who kept their own heavy iron vaults behind their own locked doors. And so the deposits poured in. The goldsmiths' vaults, once half empty, began to fill with the wealth of frightened men gold that had fled the tower and would not go back. Then the sky darkened further. Within 2 years, England fell into civil war, king against parliament, and the country tore itself apart with soldiers, fire, and fear. In all that chaos, heavy metal was a curse it could be searched for, found, and seized by whoever held the road. But a slip of paper could be folded small, hidden in a coat, carried quietly, and still spent. The receipt was becoming the money. Picture the moment it changes. A merchant owes another merchant a large sum. Instead of hauling out the heavy coin, he simply hands over the goldsmith's receipt. It is lighter, it is faster, and no one has to count it twice. Then something stranger happens. The receipt does not stop. It passes to a third person, then a fourth people who never set foot in the goldsmith's shop, who never deposited a single coin. They take the paper as payment anyway. By the middle of the 1600s, these slips of paper were moving across London freely, accepted as money by people far down a chain of strangers. The paper itself had become spending power. Here is the leap, told once and plainly. A piece of paper that only promises gold has turned into money because everyone trusts it can be turned back into gold whenever they want, even though almost nobody ever bothers to do it. And the goldsmith was watching. Day after day, he noticed something quiet but enormous. The people who left their gold with him almost never came back for it all at the same time. A few withdrew, a few deposited, and the vault stayed nearly full. He learned a second thing that would shape finance for centuries. People had started to trust the paper more than the metal behind it. The receipt was now easier to carry, easier to spend, and easier to trust than the gold it stood for. Think about what that means. The thing of real weight, the thing men had killed and robbed for, was now sitting still in a box. The light, foldable claim on it was doing all the work. So the goldsmith held two facts in his head: a vault that was almost never emptied, and a paper everyone trusted. Put those two facts together, and you have the seed of an idea that could make money out of nothing. And here is where the goldsmith crosses a line. If the gold mostly just sits in the dark, why not write out new receipts for gold that isn't really there, and lend them to people who need money? The borrower takes the paper, trusts it like everyone else, and pays it back later with extra on top. That extra is interest, a fee charged on gold the goldsmith never actually owned. Look at what just happened. He earned real profit on money he made with a stroke of a pen. No mining, no melting, no metal, just ink, paper, and trust turned into earnings. But notice the strange truth sitting underneath it. The vault still holds the same gold it always did, yet the paper claims written against that gold now far outnumber the coins locked inside. There was no neat rule, no fixed amount kept back. The goldsmith simply judged how much paper he could put out, while keeping enough metal for the few who came asking. More money now moved through London than gold existed to back it. And here is the danger hiding inside the profit. The whole arrangement works only while people stay calm. If every holder of paper arrives on the same morning demanding gold, the metal is simply not there. Yet for now, the calm holds. Between 1660 and 1694, these goldsmith bankers climbed to the heart of London's money. No king licensed them, no law watched them. Quietly, without anyone deciding it should happen, a handful of craftsmen with hammers and vaults were now multiplying the city's money supply, and the whole arrangement leaned on one fragile thing: that the crowd never lost faith all at once. Now leave the gold dust and the iron vaults behind and step into a modern bank branch. The hammers are gone. The strong boxes are gone. But the trick the goldsmiths stumbled into is still running, and it is far, far bigger. Here is the part almost no one is told. When a bank approves your loan, it does not reach into a drawer of someone else's savings and count out their cash to you. It does something much stranger and much quieter. It simply types a number into your account. That number was not moved from anywhere. It did not exist a second before. In the instant the loan is approved, brand new money is created. The goldsmith's paper receipt has become a digit on a screen. And this is not a small corner of the economy. Step back and look at all the money in the world, and most of it was born exactly this way, by banks making loans. The physical cash, the coins and notes you can touch, is only the small slice. The rest is just numbers. Now, let me be honest with you, because the truth is more careful than the legend. It is not one tidy fraction held in a vault anymore. Central banks and rules sit on top of the whole thing and make it far more complex than a goldsmith with a strongbox. But strip all the rules away, and the engine humming underneath is still the discovery, a craftsman made by candlelight, that money can be conjured with a pen because almost no one ever asks to see the gold behind it. Which brings us to the thing that should make your stomach tighten. Your deposit, the money sitting safely in your account, has already been lent out, turned into long, slow loans that will not be repaid for years. So if everyone walks in on the same morning and asks for their money at once, the cash is simply not there. It never was. This is the goldsmith's exact nightmare, only now it is yours, and the vault is the whole banking system. Let's go back one last time to the iron-bound vault, the heavy door, the candle burning low beside an unfinished receipt. Picture the goldsmith's strongbox, the cold metal, the dust of gold in the air. Now, look at the number glowing on your account and understand at last what it really is. That balance is not a stack of banknotes set aside for you in a drawer. The cash is not waiting. It is a promise, the bank's promise, to pay you, written as a digit instead of on paper. The very same kind of promise a goldsmith made when he handed a merchant a slip of paper and said the gold was safe. So the real invention was never the gold, and it was never the metal in the vault. It was trust. Trust in a piece of paper, and now trust in a number on a screen. 4 centuries later, every time someone taps to pay, they are still living inside the quiet discovery, those London goldsmiths made by firelight. The real breakthrough was never the gold. If you enjoyed this story, subscribe. There is always another one worth telling.